Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. The technology is working. It's probably the first time all month. Probably the first time this month I've had this benefit. So I know a lot of people can't make this live this evening. So there will be this will be shared in the group as a replay, and there will be a blog post that goes with it as well. So again, thank you very much for joining us. My friend, I know, needs little introduction. However, I will give her the grace of the introduction that she deserves. So welcome, Mariana. Mariana Bulbuck is the CEO and Director of Bizzmosis Business Services, which deals primarily with licensing and business activities in Dubai and the rest of the world. And not only that, Mariana is obviously a much loved and respected advisor to the Female Fusion Group. Not only that, she actually works with government entities as well, getting rules changed actually on your behalf. So that's why we love her so much, and that's why we appreciate her. And as we've just been discussing off camera, Mariana, sometimes these are things people don't really want to hear, right? But at the end of the day, it's the rules. And if you want to keep on top of them and you want to keep yourself within the rules, all for the best, then it's well worth following Bizzmosis on their social media platforms as well, because they're very super active. A blog on their website, the LinkedIn group, and the Facebook and also Instagram as well will keep you up to date, as well as doing their best within Female Fusion, because there's only so many hours in the day, right, Mariana? And there's only so many questions, which is why we thought we might chat to you all about a really specific license. Now, before I let Mariana tell you all the details, because you know I like to think I'm an expert these days, but I'm really not. Look, the fact is, the most cost-effective license you can get in the Emirates right now is the DED etrader license. There's no two ways about it. It's super popular. It's literally 1,200 dirhams, Mariana, if you do it yourself, right? Yeah. It's never going to come any cheaper than that. You know, it's an absolute godsend to so many of us. It's such an absolute bonus to so many business people or people trying, you know, self-employed and freelancers in the UAE. It was such a great thing when it was announced by the government, and we're really, really grateful for it. However, it's not suitable for everybody. You might be told that it is. Because at the end of the day, right, we all want to hear what we want to hear. So the idea of paying 1,200 dirhams to be fully licensed in our business would be amazing. But the fact is, it completely depends on a myriad of factors, mainly on your activities. And there's restrictions to it. And there's also things about it that you might not know. And you might be able to save yourself a few quid, a few dirhams by being licensed via the etrader. So on that note, what we're going to talk about is essentially exactly what the etrade license is, and more importantly, kind of really what it isn't. Again, I think you know, everybody kind of seems to think they've got an etrader license and they're fully licensed. And again, good cop, bad cop, it's not always the case. So I will hand over to you, Mariana, and I will let you tell us exactly what the DED etrader license is.
All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Kelly, for the invitation. As always, so many things to talk about and so many things that are changing towards the best into the licensing platforms in the UAE. DED Trader is one of the most cost-effective licenses indeed. I don't think, personally, I don't know of any license in any of the UAE Emirates that costs just in excess of 1,000 dirham to license per year, and that allows 100% ownership for foreigners. But as you say, DED Trader is a license valid for Dubai residents only. So you have to have a Dubai residency, a Jari in Dubai, and your Emirates ID in Dubai in order to benefit of this online license. So now it is called eTrader, which means online trading, but this platform was not created initially with openness of registrations for foreigners. So eTrader license was initially available to UAE and GCC nationals, and it did include a lot of options from professional services as well as trading. So fashion trading, electronics trading, manufacturing trading, all sorts of trading activities, trading in the meaning of buy and sell of goods, have been available to the UAE and GCC nationals in the past. In 2018, when DED Trader was made available by the Dubai Economical Department in Dubai for the foreigners, so expatriates that are non-GCC and non-UAE nationals. The trading part of it has been not made available because the commercial companies law till date requires a commercial and professional, a commercial and industrial activity to have a 51% nominal or active UAE national shareholder. So the DED etrader license at the moment is a online platform that gives you a mainland license with 100% foreign ownership for professional and services activities only. So you cannot take a DED trader license and do a commercial activity on buying wholesale and selling retail, or buying items, repurposing them and selling them. It is allowing people to provide, let's say, handicraft workshop services, such as, for example, smithing of imitation jewelry, or making sculptures, or producing art such as paintings, or creating frames, or engraving different type of products to personalize them. But it does not allow you to sell with those goods specifically, to buy them from producers or from wholesalers and retail them. Okay, so this is the main misconception that I wanted to address today, and I wanted to be very clear for everybody in order to avoid misinformation. DED trader, it's called e-trader, but it does not have trading and commercial activities available to be registered for foreign expatriates, okay, for non-GCC and non-UAE. A lot of people will debate, but DED trader says I can sell my handicrafts, which is true. But it means that you have to produce that handicraft from scratch yourself. So you would take the clay, you would make out of it a sculpture, and you sell the sculpture. You would take a textile of whatever nature, you would tailor it and make one custom-made to the person tailored dress or crochet item, and then sell it via your social media platforms or directly on delivery. Yeah. But you do it 100% with your own hands as a handicraft item. You cannot sublease these services further. And we will move in detail on further questions, Kelly, that you have. But as a main sentence and as a general factor of the DED trader, it is an online license, 100% foreign ownership, non-commercial activities, that allows you to have a mainland license without limitation of operations within the UAE, but it does not allow you to have a commercial activity under it.
Okay, so now I'm a little bit confused. So if right, let's just really get down to the nitty-gritty here. And I'm sorry if these questions seem too simple, Mariana, but I think it's really important. There's so many questions about this license across the board. It's getting to the point. This is why we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
Because again, I understand why people would want to have this license, and mainly it's because of cost. But so if I'm a photographer with my own camera and I take my photographs, can I sell them to you?
There are two types of activities in the photography industry on the e-trader available to foreigners. One, it is commercial photographs production, and another one is photography services for parties and weddings. So if you're taking the commercial photographs production and you are making those photos with your ownership, yes, you are allowed to sell the rights of usage of those images to third parties, but you have produced them. And of course, you have to make sure that those images do not reflect areas of the city, for example, that is regulated by the government, right? So for example, to make a picture of I don't know, Burj Al Arab, and to sell it with your own rights, unfortunately, is not allowed due to the symbol of the building itself. When we take the activity of the services,
that's really interesting, though, with regards to wedding photography, Mariana, because we've all seen the pictures of the brides and grooms on the beach in front of the Burj, and various other creative, you know, the Khalifa, everything.
That's a good point. But then we're not selling the item; we are providing a service. So once again, we have to separate. On commercial photograph production, you are shooting photos and you're giving the rights to people to buy those photos to use them in media, newspapers, magazines, online, websites, up to them. Standalone, points of interest of the country that are regulated by tourism departments are not allowed to be taken. But if you're taking a picture as a service, now we're moving to the other activity, which is service of photography providing, right? So it's my wedding, I want you to make pictures for me. In that instance, then the photographer is not the owner of the pictures. I am the owner because I'm on that picture as a groom and a bride, and I pay for the services, not for the pictures. Okay? So the photographer does not keep ownership in front of the law as a product, does not keep ownership over images when they are done for an event, wedding, party, and entertainment.
So you can with your DED trader license, you can take a picture of me on my wedding day in front of the Burj Al Arab. I pay you for those services of being my wedding photographer. I then own those photographs. All is good.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What about fitness? There's a lot of people, and I think this came up massively at the in-person event we did before Christmas, back in September, I think, when we were at the Lime Tree Cafe, if you remember. There was a lot of ladies who attended that event who were into, who were, a lot of fitness professionals who I think had taken the license or were interested in taking the license, again, for the obvious reasons. Can you clarify anything on that?
Yes, so anything regarding sport professionals, and we're talking nutritionists, fitness, personal trainers, yoga, Pilates instructors, swimming classes, and so on and so forth. In the past, it used to be separated on categories. So swimming and clubs of sports have been regulated, and then personal training, fitness classes, and yoga and Pilates have been not regulated. But due to high numbers of people that have been injured due to the specialists that provided these services without actually making sure that they are correctly licensed or experienced to recommend those services, these activities now have been moved, all of them, all activities, as being regulated by Youth and Sport Council. So unfortunately, no fitness, yoga, Pilates, let's say coaching, sport coaching, PT is now available neither as an DED trader platform for foreigners. Again, for UAE nationals is different, and they do have some activities available to them. But for expatriates of non-GCC and non-UAE nationality, no sport-related activity is allowed under DED trader. And also, all of them, if taken, need to obtain the Sport and Youth Council, so they can't even be taken as an instant license, which is the next level of licensing in the DED. For a company setup, they would need to have those permits in place, and it is a regulated activity.
Bad news, guys. Sorry, I know there's so many out there, like you say, on the nutrition side of things. Actually, that brings me on to my next point, because this is where there's quite a lot of vagaries. So, what about coaching? And we have a lot of coaches in Female Fusion of varying degrees. So I'm not talking about fitness training or anything like that, but I'm talking about life coaching, and I'm then talking about moving into almost the therapy side of things, which is obviously massively highly regulated, as it should be. But where are the grey areas with the coaching that you might have come across?
Well, first of all, as last time you explained, and you very well pointed out, we have to understand that coaching worldwide, or in Europe is seen as probably almost similar to training. So there's a fusion of these two and seen as complementary, services. In the UAE, coaching is non-regulated because it's seen as a service where you just assist the individual to become better at something they already are good at. Okay, so you're not teaching them anything new. You're only helping them to become better in something that they are already good at, be it in their overall lifestyle habits, or into their way of thinking, into a more positive approach, or into a better wardrobe, overall looking, professionally and personally, without actually moving into the aspect of training, where you are making sessions, where you're creating a training course, where you're helping them to be a better let's say, public speaker, or you're training them and teaching them to develop leadership skills, right, where they upgrade from one position of their employment to another. So very important to understand that under the DED trader license, the only coaching activity existing at the moment available for foreigners that are non-GCC, non-UAE nationals is lifestyle development coaching. And as you see, it's a lifestyle development coaching, which means that description of this activity itself allows people to work one-on-one sessions online or face-to-face in developing one's lifestyle from all aspects, professional, personal, the way they look, the way they think, but it does not allow to train them to develop a skill or give a certification. It does not allow you to give nutritionist advice, for example, right? So you can tell them that you should eat healthier, and this is what the products of healthier are, but you cannot tell them start eating, I don't know, keto diet from tomorrow, or remove this or add this into your diet, because in that instance, medical background has to be present in order to not have damaging effects, yeah?
Right,
so
right.
It's a quite broad coaching activity, but it is in the overall lifestyle, all aspects of it, without the touch of physical or nutritional or training input.
So I think for anybody listening who's slightly concerned by what we've just discussed, so basically people for whom the e-trader isn't suitable, what is what's the next level? Because if a nutritionist, I know exactly what you mean. I still think it is quite hard to comprehend.
I
So if I'm a nutritionist, I'm not allowed to tailor you a diet, right?
Correct. No, if you are a nutritionist licensed by the DHA, Dubai Health Authority, or Abu Dhabi Health Authority, and you're in a medical environment, then of course you can. But if you are a coach of lifestyle development, you cannot advise on dietary, changes. And I'll explain why. Maybe that person doesn't even know that they have a problem, underlying problem with their blood circulation or with their cholesterol or. So in the moment to give them an advice without having a medical background or access to their medical reports, you might trigger, side effects. So this is why this is seen as, for example, explaining them that's what a carbohydrate is, and this is how many grams of sugar or whatever it's in one product or another. So in the aspect of informing them with general information about products, lifestyle, and habits, you can, but in changing them with a direct advice, you cannot.
Okay, so I've just had a question. What about business consulting? Again, it depends on the activities, right? But I guess this is similar to what you've just said. So general advice rather than a bespoke advice?
It depends on the industry. So with consulting in general, the consultancy activity, especially in Dubai, is seen as regulated, and whoever takes any type of consulting license needs to pass an exam at the American University in Dubai, which is a general 75 questions exam proving general knowledge of economics, right? So in order for you to be a consultant for HR, for marketing, for, let's say, business development, you need to prove to the authorities that you have the expertise and the knowledge, the diploma, the studies, the life experience to become a consultant in that field. So when we use the word consultancy as itself, management consultancy or marketing consultancy, it is a regulated industry, and it is not available in the DED trader license because it requires the side approvals, yeah? But when we look at it from execution point, so if you are, let's say, a project manager, does this include that throughout managing that project, you can advise your client on how to make it better and how to implement it and help them to implement it? Of course, yes. And project management services is available under the DED trading license, yeah? But you're seen more as an executor. You're managing that project, and throughout managing that project, we're talking general, of course, with exceptions of regulated projects, which are medical or construction or engineering or oil. We're talking, let's say, event industry or any other industries that have overall projects of development where you can participate and give advice, but you're not officially a consultant. You're an executor of the project with your knowledge and expertise as well, yeah? Also, marketing services. There's an activity that is available, or marketing management in the DED trader. You're managing a company's marketing presence, yeah? Physical presence as well as online presence. This does not mean that you cannot advise the client out of your expertise how to improve that marketing platform or structure, but this means you cannot position yourself as a consultant and charge for consultancy fees. The consulting or the advice comes as a part of your managing of their marketing platforms. So this is how it's seen in the activities.
It's very much a case of semantics, isn't it? A lot of it comes down to the words. And how many activity categories is there now? Like there used to be hundreds. I can't.
It's about 3,000 at the moment.
Yay! Brilliant. So I mean, you know, all good. But I think it's important to point out also, so if you are entitled to this license and you go and purchase for your 1,500, how many categories do you get for your money?
Well,
how many categories are allowed?
Yeah. So as per the general rule in the UAE, Dubai, specific Emirates of Dubai, under the DED, you can have up to 10 activities part of the same category. So that's applicable to any type of DED license. In the DED trader, some categories do not even have the opening to 10 activities of that category. For example, if we took in the DED trader the activity called separate professional activities, right? So it has only 3 activities available in that category under DED trader, but it has hundreds of them in a normal licensing platform, right? So given the fact that you have the availability of those categories having multiple activities, then you can take up to 10 activities part of the same group. So if we look at marketing, then we have marketing management, PR, marketing through social media, portal, blogging, website content provider, and so on and so forth, that you can add up to 10 under the same cost that are part of the same category. You could not combine under the same DED trader license different categories. So I'm going to take events, conference organizing, and then I'm going to take let's say handicrafts, imitation jewelry smithing. I cannot, because they're 2 separate categories. That means I'm going to take 2 individual DED trader licenses.
Which isn't bad news, is it? Yeah, I don't think that's not bad news in the sense of, you're right, obviously the categories have to fall under. Am I right in thinking it's a couple of hundred dirhams if you wanted to add more than the 10 activities per activity? Under
currently in the DED trader, if you want to change from one category to another, it is the modification fee that you pay for. More than 10 though, it is not at the moment possible.
No, but I think the good news is, like you say, if you were entitled to the license, regardless of the category, you have to buy another license, but you are entitled to do that. So you could cover yourself again for another 1,500 dirhams rather than.
Yes. Well, first you don't have a duplication of activities. So let's say Kelly has one portal activity called Female Fusion and another portal activity called Happiness. So they're both portal and they're both owned by the same person, right? So that would not be allowed. But if you take one portal activity called Female Fusion and then the other activity will be imitation jewelry smithing, they're separate activities. You could name them the same or different names and take a multitude of activities. Important though to mention, even for expatriates, based on their nationality, not all activities will be valid to all nationalities equally. So once again, we go back to high risk and low risk nationalities based on political situation worldwide. And some specific nationalities would not have access to the DED trader due to their application requiring to have a criminal investigation background check before they're allowed to be investors. So CID check has to happen. So for those specific nationalities, DED trader is not available. But
can
also,
you tell us which those nationalities are?
They keep changing. As a general rule, as everybody knows, of course, Syria, due to the conflict that is happening, Iran currently is not available. A few other countries that are seen as high risk, even though they don't have currently a conflict. There's no, let's say, official page that you'd find those nationalities. It's try and see. So if the person is trying to register on the platform and it's unsuccessful, then most probably it's due to the nationality, and it would say that it is an error due to the nationality not being permitted. At sometimes you would have a nationality on the passport, but in the passport your birthplace is of a high-risk country. In the immigration system, when the license is linked to your ID, if that would be shown, then unfortunately for that applicant, the license is not available as well. So once again, you need to be a Dubai resident. You need to have a non-high-risk nationality or birthplace in order to be able to have access to this license.
Interesting. Somebody's just asked about the coverage for the Emirates. Just Dubai, or will the e-trader cover you for the whole of the UAE?
Well, we go back to the commercial companies law that regulates, at the federal level, the operations of a commercial entity. So DED trader is a license from Dubaimainland, and by general rule, any company should operate within the emirate where the license is from. So if you officially would like to operate in Abu Dhabi and say, ta-da, we've opened a jewelry smithing workshop in Abu Dhabi, then legally you should have a license from Abu Dhabi for that scope of work. But if you would occasionally have requests on goods from residents in other emirates and have to deliver some items or send, to them those items, then of course you wouldn't have to have officially a license in that emirate. You can operate from Dubai.
Fantastic. So,
for example, just to make it more clarity, not on the items, but on the service. So I'm taking a lifestyle development coaching license, and I'm doing mostly sessions online or, within Dubai, Emirate of Dubai at different locations. And then suddenly I have a higher request from Ras Al Khaimah. So more and more often I start going to Ras Al Khaimah, I start becoming members of specific sessions, I start attending specific events. I'm more and more present on that market, and I start saying, okay, I'm going to provide my services in Ras Al Khaimah now as well, right? Not on an occasional basis or a constant basis. Well, in that instance, under the provision of the law, of course, a Dubai license will not be sufficient. You would have to open a branch or another entity for that scope of work in that emirate.
Which I think is quite logical, right? I think we all know that if we were doing business in a particular emirate more and more, I think we'd all be quite aware of the fact that actually now's the time. Because technically, there's nothing stopping you setting up, scoping your activity before you get the license. I'm not encouraging anybody to be unlicensed, quite the opposite. But essentially, you can do your research, right? You can come together with your business plan, your marketing plan, and you can do all of that. Be looking into your minimum viable, your ideal audience, all of these business strategy things, and then have your license, because you haven't done any business yet, right?
Correct.
So that's okay.
So I'll give the simplest example of Bizzmosis. We have started, and of course our heart and our operations is in Dubai, right? And we started servicing multinational companies that had branches all over the UAE. But the mother company and the mother entity was in Dubai. So our invoicing and majority of the services, let's say 90% of the services we provided was for the entity based in Dubai. And then occasionally we will have to assist to lobby or help with visa or licensing or a permit in Ras Al Khaimah or Ajman or Abu Dhabi for that client. So on an occasional basis, I wouldn't go and get a license for that purpose. But once we became now a growing presence in Abu Dhabi, then we have had to extend and then branch out and officially register a license in that Emirates, and so on and so forth. Depends on the volume of work and also how you promote yourself online. If your presence is there, then your license should be there as well.
We've just had a question, just going back a little bit, sorry, about the marketing, social media, blog content, etc. Does it mean influencers as well? Will the 15K media council fee come on top? I think it will. Do you know more about that?
Well, influencers are seen as a freelance individual structure, which is not under the DED trader, because they receive income not from their handicraft or from their own skills. They receive from selling media exposure. Okay, so that is a separate category. It is not covered by DED trader, and they have to be, of course, be licensed with media regulatory authority as well as freelance permits.
Right, so they need the DMC permit and as well as the correct freelance license.
Correct. Depends on the nationality, jurisdictions, or mainland license as well. So it is a special separate category that is not covered under the DED trader. And once again, the logic behind it is that in DED trader, if I have marketing services, it means I'm not gonna, with my image, my platform, or my brand, charge you marketing money for putting your brand out there. I'm gonna actually manage your brand platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or whatever, and get money for my service. So I'm a service provider. I'm not a sales of service.
Yeah. Web development. Now, I'll put I think that's covered.
Website design and website web pages content and graphic design for the web are activities available in the DED trader. And yes, they can take it. I've seen it earlier business consulting. I'm not sure of the details of that license, but there are activities in the DED trader, which is business services.
Yeah.
So they can advise businesses on legalities of registration and assist, quite similar to what Bizzmosis started with. And then there are some other activities that allow them to give support, but as I said, support and execution, not consulting.
Pet training.
Oh, look at that. Okay, so anything to do with animals or animal related are activities that are regulated by Animal Welfare Department, either under the municipalities or MOCAE, which is Ministry of Environment. The training activity itself exists in the DED systems and platforms, but it doesn't exist in the DED trader, unfortunately, because the person who would become a pet trainer would have to show qualifications and knowledge of handling with animals.
Somebody's just asking a question, actually, which I will answer. It's regarding fashion. We'll get to that, because actually, I mean, we could talk about like different specifics and categories all day, right? And I think, actually, I'm going to mention at this point something, and I think it's really important, and things get lost in the group. Of course they do. People don't read everything. Without looking like a massive advert for Bizzmosis, which, do you know what? In a way, I'm not officially, but I'm happy to be, because as I keep saying, and as somebody took unkindly to last week, you can get on the phone to the Bizzmosis guys for a free 30-minute consultation. I'll give you the code. You mentioned Female Fusion. You can have a chat for 30 minutes with no obligation whatsoever, because it does seem, and Mariana knows all of this inside out, but even to myself, trying to get my head around it, it does seem to be so bespoke to all your individual categories. I think it's completely fair enough that it can feel slightly confusing. You know, I'm a freelance event show director, fashion show producer. That will, again, I know that you will say, well, it depends what shows you're producing. It depends where, it depends who for, it depends what the fashion designer is. It's all little things.
I have one sentence that I think will help for everybody when they want to get the DD trader license. It's just like a question to put to themselves. And it's almost, let's say 90% of the cases you can answer yourself. First of all, the activity you need, do you actually need to know anything about it in order to provide it or not? I mean, do you need to have some studies? Do you need to have some experience? Or just anybody can just start and from tomorrow become that, right? So if what you need, we're not talking about the skill set, we're talking about the consulting, advisory, and management, right? So if worldwide, your activity, like for example, if it's a trainer, to be a trainer or a teacher, you need to be licensed, even abroad, right? You need to have the degree. So if it needs to have that qualification, then it means it has to have it regulated here as well. And if it has to be approved by the government here, it has to be verified, then it cannot be a license that you issue online in 5 minutes, with a click of a button. So obviously it will not be part of the platform. And then second question, do I need to, can I provide this service 100% by myself? Or can I produce this service from scratch 100% by myself, or do I need to subcontract parties, or sublease some of the service or part of the product or process? So if you answer yes, I can produce it from scratch and I repurpose it. So I'm not buying diapers, selling diapers, but buying clay and selling a sculpture. Then in any type of handicraft side or workshop side, then yes, then the license is for you if you can do it 100% and you repurpose the item. Yeah, not just improve it. And then the third question that is very important, the DD trader, that is very common, is mostly related to the operational side, right? Would I need to get employees and grow the business and get the visa or not? Immediately, we're talking of short term, right? DD trader will never give visas, even though a lot of people, when they register the DD trader, they receive an automatic SMS saying now you have 2 quarters for the visas. Once again, this is since the system was available for UAE and GCC nationals. So for them, yes, with this platform, they can sponsor in their own country or their own region employees, right? For us as foreigners, if you do need employees under this license, let's say 3, 4, 5 months, half a year, short term, this is not the right license for you, because you cannot sponsor anybody under this business. It's 100% based on your own residency. So at least these 3 questions, if they make sense to you when you make an answer, in general, then you would know if this is not suitable for you.
I think a lot of the kind of misunderstanding slightly or confusion comes with certain things that you and I have discussed previously. So like the common myths, like we say. So one of which is, and somebody's actually already asked this as a question, can I subcontract a part of my business? And the example that you gave me, which I think is actually really relevant to the lady who's asking, can I subcontract a part of my business? So that would be dressmaking. So I design these garments. I've got my Instagram account, etc., to sell the, you know, these found these fabulous fabrics, and I know what I want, design them, etc. But I'm sending them out to somebody else to sew them. So I'm subcontracting that part of the business. Where do I stand there?
Well, once again, is what actually your client pays you for. If your client pays you for the design services, the activity is available in the DED Trader platform, and you're just charging the design. The item itself that is being produced by a tailor shop or a manufacturing line is actually sold by the tailor shop to the client. Okay, so you're not selling the item, you're providing the service of the design.
Brokering almost, right?
It's just design. It's like I'm making the design of the business card, but then printing press is going to sell you the business cards printed, right? I don't have the paper and thing. I'm just going to do the design. So it's the same with the clothes. I'm going to do the design, and you're buying from me the service of the creativity of that design, right? And then putting those specimens and specifics in place. But then the item itself is being sold by the producer, which will be the manufacturing line or the tailor. If I am selling you already a ready-made garment made by that producer, it means I'm not selling you the design. I'm selling you the ready-made dress, even though I designed it, but you paying me for the dress. So that is a trading experience then.
Okay.
Still slightly confused.
Still slightly confused. Because the other example which made me laugh was you sell diaper cakes, right? Or gift baskets, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but you're taking the products from elsewhere to put together into your gift basket or your diaper cake. Well, actually, are you trading in nappies then? Are you trading in goods? Are you again, is it just like what you've just said? So I'm selling you the service of my gift registry.
Okay, but then let's take it this way. When I invoice you as a client, I've made the cake out of diapers, right? In that invoice, do I charge you only for the hourly rate for making the cake, or do I charge you the value of the diapers plus the effort? So if it's the value of the diapers, it means I'm selling you the diapers along with the time I've taken to put it into a cake or make that beautiful decoration, right? So in that instance, I'm trading with the good itself.
Yeah, you're trading.
When we have gift baskets, in that gift basket, yes, I've assembled it with, let's say, some glitter and some flowers and some chocolate and some, well, it doesn't matter, glue, scissors and things like that. Have I produced that glue and that scissor from scratch, from zero? If not, it means I'm taking ready-made goods and I'm selling them ready-made goods, but I'm just adding on top my efforts of making it look good or, let's say, rearranging it. So in that instance, it's a trading. And in your accountancy, from a financial aspect, you need to show entry of goods in your accountancy, right? In your stocks. Where did these diapers come from? You've bought them from somewhere, right? And then an exit of these goods from your accountancy, limitation of stock. So that is trading.
Which categorically does not come under the DED trader license.
No, and the DED trader license, it does not. For expatriates of non-GCC, non-UAE national.
Is there anything else? Because I think that kind of clears it up. You're right. So somebody's just said, expanding on the tailor example, if I were to design and stitch the dress myself and then sell it to you, would that be allowed?
Yes.
No. Yes. Even
I'm designing and I'm stitching it. I'm making it with my own hands.
True, handmade, right?
Exactly, handicraft.
What about the fabric? What if I'm not making the fabric and I'm buying it?
I'm not selling the fabric. I'm selling the dress. The diaper was a diaper. Let's do it this way. How about we do a crochet, right? So I'm doing a crocheted hat. I'm going to buy the thread, correct? And the thread itself will cost me 4 dirhams, roughly. Doesn't matter. A bundle of thread. Then to make it into a crocheted hat, I'm going to sell it for 35 dirhams. Why? Because it's the time, the effort, and the final product that has to be used, right? I'm not selling it as a thread, but I've made it 100% by myself. The final product was created from scratch by me. It's the same with the dress. I took a piece of material. I didn't sell it as a piece of material. Like I took a diaper, I sold it as a diaper, right?
Yeah.
I've cut it, stitched it, rearranged it, added buttons. I've handicrafted with my own hands. And so, that piece can be sold. And from this aspect, the DD trader is so cheap because government understands if only you a person does 100% of the work, how many pieces physically per day can you do? Are you going to do 100,000 pieces or 10,000 pieces? Obviously not. So it is obviously a low volume of selling your own handmade goods.
You know, and we're not that neither of us are the licensing police or want to be, but I do think I would possibly say even in the fashion environment, there's probably a lot of ladies out there selling a lot of pieces under a DED trader license. So it's just worth. But again, it's about morals and ethics as well. If you're doing well and if you really are shifting all of that, brilliant, amazing, good on you. You know, if it's a starter license and your business starts to grow and the profit is there, then you know you're obligated to be licensed correctly and to pay the due fees whether we like it or not.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But also, the government here is the most open, easy, accessible government I've ever worked with, and I've worked in a few, especially in Europe, right, and Eastern Europe. So nothing stops the people to address an email to, once again, do not call the call centers, because these are people that work hard to answer as quick as they can, you know, questions, but the management team, the legal team, and whatever move ahead with the changes. And by the time it reaches all the departments, misconceptions and misinformation can happen, you know, in regards to updates. And also, as you say, Kelly, even though by phone, and I'll give you the simplest example in a second, the person understood you correctly, what actually is the essence of your business has not been related correctly. And this is why the advice came different, right? And the simplest example, I call you Kelly, you're the DD person, and I say, hi, I want to sell my handicraft items. Am I allowed to do it under DD trader? What would you say?
Yes.
Perfect. But then the person calling would to say, my handicraft items are sourced from stay-at-home moms and from whatever people that produce them handicrafted in their house. I'm actually just selling them. Am I allowed to do that then?
No.
Exactly.
And,
so
again, I think we've had the example of bringing, I think it's quite an important example actually. So if your raw materials come in from abroad, so we always use the example of a hat. So the hats are bought from Bali, they come in, they're lovely. You add some decoration, a bit of embroidery, a patch, a sticker, a bow, whatever, and you say your hats are handmade. They're not. They were handmade by the person in Bali, not by you.
Exactly. It has been personalized by you. And this is why, for example, the simplest example on personalization is that in the DD Trader, the engraving services is available, but then trading with gift goods, it's not available. So you can have your pens, give it to me, I'll engrave it and charge you for it and give your pens back, but I cannot sell you pens with engraving on it. So it's the same with a hat. You can give me your hat, I'll personalize it, but I will charge for personalization, handicraft, you know, work, or do the hat from zero, you know, apply it and make it a hat from material or from threads. But I cannot take the ready hat and then give it to you as a ready hat, because then I'm trading with that good.
I'm not going to, I mean, there is literally, I could give 1,000 examples, and haven't got time to do that. I don't think there's any need to do that. But I am just going to pick up on this question because it's actually something that we do see a lot. And I think this is the point about everybody having such an individual time with all of this. And it's so bespoke that I'm just recommending you all, sorry, you're going to be flooded, Mariana, but you know, to kind of pick up the phone and just ask these questions, or have the understanding of what we're talking about. We might not have answered your question, give you more to think about. When Mariana said, ask yourselves these questions, you know, and this is available as a replay. It will get posted to the group. I'm going to start simply linking to it every time there's a licensing question, to be quite honest. We're all a bit busy, put it that way. So we are absolutely here to help you, and actually educate yourselves as well. So a few of you can be in my gang and help us answer some of these questions for extra Kelly points. You know, you can educate yourselves and be able to tell your friends or your fellow group members, pass on a little bit of knowledge as well. Because I do deliberately allow these questions onto the group, because I know Facebook groups, and this is Facebook, this is not me or my expertise or my 12 years experience working on Facebook. This is Facebook. The way that the groups just simply are mechanically it's not, so you're going to lose posts. There is a search, by the way, which is very, very good, and I want you all to use it, and I just wish more of you did, but that goes for Facebook as a whole anyway. You can search in the group for the answers, but yes, absolutely, things do get lost, and you don't always see everything that's posted there. The algorithms don't work for us, etc. And if I post files and other information, you don't necessarily know it's there, or you can't be bothered to download it and look at it. So we fully appreciate that, but I do want to get on top of all these licensing questions on the basis of just how many that they are. So yeah, if you want to be part of my gang and help us with that, we'd really appreciate it. But I'm just going to mention this particular one, and I think I know the answer, but again, I think you might confuse me. So right, personalized items, t-shirts, coffee mugs, etc. So I can sell you a t-shirt with my amazing design on that I print on vinyl onto the coffee mug, the cushion, the t-shirt. Is that okay? Because it's, but I've made it myself.
Yes, but you're telling me the printing service or the coffee mug with the printing. Like, for example, the people who took the DED trader license, right? So the people who have that type of service, and they took an activity from DED trader. Each activity in DED trader has a description that tells you what exactly you're allowed to do, okay? So I'm short of time now, but I'm thinking, for example, for this exact service, I'm trying to find the activity on the DED trader platform, and it's something to do with gifts. Just give me 1 second, I'll find it. So for example, there is an activity called gifts and jewelry box making, and it's very clear that you have to make that box, for example, yeah? When it has glass and plastic engraving, so it is engraving, as I said earlier, but you cannot sell the glass and plastic itself, the item that is engraved.
So you're selling the t-shirt and you're selling the mug. You're not selling your design services or your vinyl cutting, handmade.
Exactly. I can't just point out now. The person in case can contact me and I'll find the exact activity description that is available for this type of business model. But I'll give the simplest example. For example, glass and plastic engraving, it says includes incising a design on glass and plastic by cutting grooves into it, whether by hand or laser. So you see, it's very specific, the description. It doesn't say that you're gonna sell that plastic cup with the engraving on it. It says you're gonna do the engraving itself. So once again, what's the business model of this person? Are they charging for the person, like let's say Virgin Megastore, right? I went to them, I gave them the picture I wanted and the text I wanted, and they've put it, that print onto the item that I brought, that I wanted to be personalized. So then they charge me for that personalization process, the printing process, right? If they had to sell me the white shirt and say, okay, we have white, black, and whatever, plain shirts, then I pay separately for the shirt, plus that printing thing. And then they have a trading license to sell me that shirt, plus the personalization, printing, and engraving.
Yeah.
Okay? In the DED trader, there is no activity that says you can trade with the mugs or the whatever. And the same example is with business cards. If you, as the marketing designer, Kelly, would do my branding and you'll create my business card design, maybe you subcontract, you make an agreement with a printing press and say, all the clients I make the design for, I'm going to send to you. You're going to make a quotation. I'm going to send them to you to do that printing of the cards.
Yeah, and he's selling you the cards, not me.
Exactly. So it's the same here. Make an agreement with a company that does trading with the cups, mugs, and whatever. Make the design on it, and then let them invoice you on the items, and you invoice the company on the items plus the service. Separate it into your invoice. Make it as a third-party B2B agreement, right? And that's fine because you're not charging for that cup. The person who's selling is charging for the cup. You're charging for the personalization. If you take a DD trade, if you want to put the model that you're selling all together because it's your branding, you're inventing those designs by yourself, well, then it's not a DD trader situation. Then pay the 12, 15, 20,000 dirham and get a proper instant license and make the proper business.
My only slight concern from that is I've just seen something actually pop up on my phone via Instagram. Parties, and it goes back to the making of the dresses, which we agreed was okay, right? Party signage and things like maybe cake toppers and stuff like that. It's saying, is that clothing? So I'm not making the paper or the acrylic or the plastic that I form into a pretty cake topper or party sign. Am I correct? I'm designing it, I'm making it, It's
so then who will be the company or the factory who will cut it? Did it in polyform or in plastic?
well, I would be creating that. I would be taking raw materials like a piece of fabric for a dress.
Okay.
Designing and making the item from
you're making the wooden frame. You're putting the material on it.
Well, let's say from a sheet of paper.
Okay.
Or from a piece of a plastic or acrylic. I'm cutting it, modeling, whatever. I'm doing all of that. I've designed it. I'm doing that.
That's totally fine. And there is an activity even called decorative sculptures making, even though the name of it doesn't say much. I want you to hear the description. It says it includes producing sculpture works like statues, shapes, decoration pieces made out of disposable materials such as polystyrene, paper, ice, sweets, and use decoratives in da-da-da. So it's a specific description, and it's available in the DED.
Okay. But it depends on the materials that I'm making it out of, right? On the base of what you've just said.
Well, it's an enumeration of a few materials, but it doesn't say only this. So it gives you an example of what materials, unless you are doing it from a regulated product, I don't know, petroleum or whatever, then of course that, or flammable or, damaging to the environment possible thing, or light, right? When you need to make those lights names and whatever, so that's electrical. So those will be regulated, of course, you can't take it. But there is an activity that allows you to do those prop-ups, right? Either as a decoration or as a show of display of a brand.
Okay, I know we don't have much time left now. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on? This will be a replay, by the way. Absolutely, you'll be able to. I'll pin it as an announcement. I'll be sharing it everywhere because it will work this time. And I'll create a blog post from it as well. Ha ha, she says. Apart from the massive surprise, is there anything else you want to touch on, Mariana, before we get onto that?
Yes, one more thing. People, when they say, oh, my license does not exist, it's wrong. It doesn't exist in the DED trader for 1,500. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the huge thousands of activities under the DED, free zone, mainland, and so many jurisdictions. So maybe it does not have access into this super cost-effective platform for the reasons as we displayed at the beginning, be it because it's regulated or because of so many other reasons. But this does not mean that now suddenly you wouldn't be licensed. You have to, under the provisions of the law, legally register any means of income and business operation. And my personal suggestion is, if you can't afford to register, then partner, share the costs, but operate legally. Because the country does give opportunities and options. It is still a long way, and it's continuously growing in the licensing platforms and opportunities that it offers. But in any country around the world, operating without a license or illegally is still an offense, right? So you have to be aware of the risks you expose yourselves versus the savings that you get of having a midway, license allowing, or a proper license that you should have.
Do you know, one tiny thing, but it's really important, and I can't believe I forgot. I can't see your names, by the way, on StreamYard. I can see your questions, but I can't see your names, I'm afraid. So I'm not being ignorant by not shouting anybody out. I apologise. Banks and bank accounts with eTrader. Do banks allow bank accounts for eTrader licenses?
Yeah. So again, provision of the law says this is a business license, and nobody says you're not allowed to have a DED trader business license, business bank account. Okay. Now, it's at the discretion of the compliance team of a specific bank to see if you are a high-risk or low-risk business model, if you are showing proof of funds and secure the continuity of your business, right? I agree that there's not many options out there that are cost-effective to sustain such a cost-effective launch. But it is not illegal to have a DED trader license and operate from your private bank account. Given that you're the 100% owner and sole liable for that license. The only concern you'd have to have is, of course, the bank account that services your private bank account, permitting you to operate commercially from that bank account. Because some banks say, private bank account could not be used for commercial, operations. Some, depends on the bank, you send them an email, a copy of your license, and say, this is the license, is it okay if I would use for occasional, income from this source, and it is, an online license from the DED. And I do know in some cases that the banks have accepted that. Also, we have numerous clients through DED eTrader license that have obtained bank accounts with CBD, Mashreq, NBD, and other banks. It's not an easy process, but it's not impossible. Once again, it's how you present your profile as an investor. What is your business model? What's the minimum balance you're ready to keep in the bank account at all times, right? And look, patience, because it takes a couple of weeks to months to get it.
Yeah. And I think there's a tendency to feel a little bit hard done in the UAE, but to be honest, you know, the UK is not much different. The massive, you know, the business bank accounts are a nightmare, and you know, and there's plenty of charges as well. It's the same for licensing. I don't have to pay anything to license my business, apart register with Companies House, etc. in the UK, but they take 20% off everything I earn. Don't forget. And more. So it's horses for courses, right? Yeah, it's, you know, we need to be grateful that things have at least come down. And again, I would even go back and say, look, you know, you start a business not as a hobby, you start it to make money, right? And that's part of your original planning and strategy. That's part of the viability of you as a business. Not every idea is a good idea or a profitable idea, you know. So you've got to put those basic ducks in a row before you even get started, really, to kind of recognize if it actually is going to be worth your while or not further down the line, you know, because things will increase. Growing this will mean an increase in licensing fees for the reasons that we've talked about for an hour. So will the cost of the license rise in the future? We don't know. Do we know how many years it will stay at this price? No idea.
Well,
it might
look,
go less.
It might product that exists, it might change. I don't think it will increase. If it disappears or it's substituted by other options, the government will announce in advance. If you have a valid license, of course, under provision of the law, they can't just tomorrow say, okay, your license is not valid anymore, right? So probably they will just stop issuing and allowing people that have it to continue with it. But once again, I don't see a reason of this platform being closed unless misused, as always. You know, it's a risk analysis factor. So at this point, I think it's a wonderful platform and there's no thing in sight that would change. But how would we know? We'll see as we go.
How long is a piece of string? How much does it cost to cancel it? Because, I mean, you've seen how many members are really, really sick to the back teeth of the cancellation charges from things like free zones.
Yeah, so the cancellation is very straightforward. It has to be cancelled by the source that has been issuing it. So either DED Cafe or we can help you. You cannot do it by yourself online through your online account. And the cancellation cost is 156 dirhams plus VAT plus services fees. So roughly 200 dirhams, 250 dirhams. Yeah.
Good news. Very good news. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.